Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another Goddess of Genesis S video, and this time I'm going to showcase the combat and the gameplay. I didn't really get into the nuts and bolts during my first impressions video, mainly because so far things are fairly simplistic. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next couple battles in Act 8 of the Adventure mode, which is where I currently am, just with the team that I have set up already. So the first thing you have your 3-star requirements, which is fairly standard. Do the battles quickly with no one dying. That's enough to get you your rewards. There's also a little quest in each battle called an event, and that's something that you usually have to go out of your way a little bit to do. Sometimes it's just winning quickly, but this time I have to defeat a specific enemy within the first 3 turns. Blitz, this is your sweep, so after you've already beat a level you can just blitz them if you want to just go back in and get the rewards automatically. So I'm just going to hop in. Got some story here, which I always skip. A little reminder about the event, and then we have our setup screen. So I have to kill this little slime guy in the first 3 turns. And the way your party is organized is you have usually a rotation of 4 or 5 main characters in your group, and these are the people that you have in combat. And then on the side here you have support characters. Now these are also in your party. They do gain experience and they do contribute towards your faction buff up here. So you can see I have 4 fire characters. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I added another fire character, I think I would actually get my faction bonus plus crit rate. Now these characters don't appear in combat, but each turn you're allowed to trigger a support skill from these characters. So if I just choose one of these guys, you can see they have a special support skill, and this is what they cast when they're in that support role. And they also gain experience at the end of battle, even though they don't fight. And they don't usually contribute towards some requirements. So some battles will require that you have at least one SSR character, and if they're in this little support lineup, they don't count. Anyway. Happy with this team, so I'm just going to jump into the fight. I don't have auto mode on right now, because I want to make sure that I can kill this slime first. So it goes through a rotation of each character. These are your skills down here that you can choose to trigger. Usually your first skill here is your default attack skill. And you have energy down here as well, and certain moves you can see cost energy to use. Energy replenishes at the beginning of each turn, not completely, but a little bit. And certain skills will replenish energy more quickly as well. It's kind of like mana or skill points or whatever from other games. It doesn't usually end up being too much of a hindering factor. So now that that slime is dead, I'm going to do the key feature of combat in this game, which is pressing the auto button. You have these little animations. I have them turned off in the settings on my phone, but I forgot to do it on my PC client. And ×2 speed is your fastest speed currently available in the game. Now when you're in auto battle, your support skills will trigger. See that little guy hopping in and shooting those little light arrows? That was a support skill. But if you're doing the combat manually, you have to remember to trigger those support skills yourself. In PvE, you generally get to cycle through your entire team's turns, and then the enemy takes their entire team's turns. In the arena or PvP mode, it's a little bit more complicated than that. It wouldn't really be fair, I guess, if your entire team got to go first, so I think it may be based on your character's speed stats or something like that. But it's more of a turn-by-turn thing there. So I got my 3 stars, I got some experience. Fairly typical. I beat the slime in the first turn, so I got this bonus Stardust. And then I get the rewards for clearing the battle. Some more generic story, and then we're on to the next mission. I'll go ahead and do this one too. So the quest for this one is to clear within 5 turns. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. I am going to leave it on auto since I don't need to do anything too specific or too crazy. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do. Is turn off those ability animations for the rest of these fights. It's fine for you to see that they exist, but I don't want to watch them or click through them every single time. So you still get a cool little face up here showing you what's going on. This shows your turn order up in the top left corner, and then of course there's a little reminder about the weapon triangle here. And up in the top right corner, you can see how there's a blue bubble here and then there's another blank bubble. That actually shows if there's going to be another wave of enemies. So after I clear these guys who are on the screen here, this one's going to light up blue when the next wave comes in. And it looks like doing this in auto, I may not clear this in 5 turns, so I may not get that special event and I'll have to come back and do that when I'm playing for serious. So far in the early stages of the game, the characters that I'm using do have a nice mix of AoE and single target skills, which is very handy for clearing these generic fights. Actually, it looks like I am going to do it in 5 turns. Okay. I'd also love to dig into the options and see if there's a way to turn off this little banter or server news section, because I don't really need to see, because the game is new, there are a lot of people summoning and doing stuff right now. I don't really need to see everyone's results from all their summons. Okay, so because I've gotten 10 stars in Act 8, I can collect one of these little treasures. Very standard Time Rift fare. One of the nice things about this is there is a link directly to your heroes and directly to your quests from this menu, so if you do something in here that completes a quest, you can jump right to your quests, cash it in, and then back to this menu so you can continue pounding through the story. So this is another common event for combat, is to defeat a specific enemy first before you defeat any of the other enemies. I find it's fairly common with bosses. And depending on the boss, it can be kind of tricky, because while you're wailing on a real, like, tanky, hit point sponge type character, all the rest of their goons are left alone to wail on you. So if I take it off auto mode, for example, to show this in action, if I wanted to just entirely focus all my attacks... Is that even the character I'm supposed to kill first? Athena. No. This is just Angel. So I guess I can auto until Athena will show up in the second wave. And then I'll just have to make sure. I was confused the first time this happened when the quest was to kill a certain character and they weren't in the first wave. I was like, oh, do I have to do something special? But you can kill all these characters, and then as long as you kill Athena first in the wave that she actually shows up in, that counts for your quest. Now we'll come off auto, because there's the second wave with Athena, so I'm going to want to... See, she doesn't take a whole lot of damage. So I'm going to have to hope that all of her buddies aren't super strong DPS. Can use some strong single target skills on her. Oh, that did a lot of damage. Don't think I'll have to worry. And then back on auto mode. That's kind of the ebb and flow of combat, at least in the early stages of the game. I'm sure it's going to get a bit more tactical and a bit more difficult as the game goes on, but for now I'm basically making sure I get the event cleared, and then just switching to auto mode and watching the rest of the fight play out. Obviously your team composition is going to have a little bit to do with this as well, as long as you have a team that complements each other fairly well. But I'm just using these two characters on the right are given to you in the story. And then I have my protagonist over here and the 2 SSR characters that I got lucky enough to summon. So it's not like this team was carefully curated or anything like that. So there's my reward, it's a summoning ticket, and that is the end of Act 8. So that was fairly quick, right? That was only, what, 5 minutes? To go through several battles fairly slowly while talking it out. So just like Matthew, Grenier, and Almeida, typically getting the most stars on each act of the story will give you some shards for your protagonist, and you can use those to eventually get his star level up. So that is pretty much all there is to it in terms of the gameplay and the combat. I know I only showed you the adventure mode, but the other modes in challenges here, but it's really the secret realm, if you're used to Langrisser. Same thing, same kind of combat, same kind of enemies. Like when you're fighting in the Astral Shore, it's a battle against like 5 characters that you've seen all over the place in the game. Same with PvP duels. So the only other thing I'm going to mention before hanging up on y'all is I just started a guild before I started recording this video. It's called the Kong Guild. I think it's called the Kong Guild. It might have shortened itself to the Kong Gui. So if you'd like to join the Kong Gui, I'm on the first server. I think it's called Endless Light or Eternal Light, something like that. Look up the guild, submit an application, and let me know in the comments if you applied to join so I can let you in. Yeah, as we gradually build up the guild, we unlock perks for our characters, and fairly typical gacha guild stuff. So hopefully that answers some question about what the gameplay in this game looks like. Fairly auto-battle friendly. Nothing too complicated. And yeah, the event quests are all fairly similar, so once you get a handle for the kind of 5 or 6 different quests that are there, you can kind of go in, manually do those, and then auto-battle the rest. Once you get to a battle that's too difficult to win in auto battle, you can try to scrape it out manually, or you can just go back to your heroes and level them up and level up their gear. Again, fairly standard gacha fare. You've got your fairly typical gacha hero building functionality in here. You've got the fairly typical auto battle style combat that I just showed you, and then of course the fairly typical gacha summoning function that I showed in my other summoning video. And I've actually managed to gather up a fairly decent number of tickets, so I'm not sure if I'm going to save those for new banners, or if I'm just going to go ahead and splurge them in another summoning video here soon. So yeah, sound off in the comments. Let me know if you're playing this game, let me know if you're interested in picking it up, let me know if you're going to join my guild, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to specifically play through in my next video. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.